Hey, what's happening, YouTube? It's Richard. We pivoted this channel not too long ago. We started to document my development projects, and in fact, Charles and I are sitting here in the Outer Banks of North Carolina doing just that. But when we pivoted, we said if there was something that was newsworthy or important or something that really could add a lot of value to folks, we would create that video. And case in point, right here, right now, we're about to do just that. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the backstory, 90 seconds or less. I don't really want to get into the details. They're not really important. But the conclusion actually helped me save $20,000 on an Airbnb. All right, so here's the deal. In all my years of hosting on Airbnb and in all the different properties, this was the most challenging, complex, emotionally draining, time-consuming situation I've ever been in. It was really, really awful. I don't really want to get into the details, but I do want to say that there were some flags that were thrown up when I took the reservation. It was made by their assistant, and I've warned everybody about taking reservations directly from the end user, not somebody else. We had things in writing on the Airbnb platform, terms and conditions of the stay. Everybody agreed to it, and then at some point, people changed their mind. I have a strict cancellation policy, and it's also important to know that this is during peak season. The months of September and October, as we've talked about in the past, are the most important calendar dates, at least on this particular listing and in many parts of the United States, if not globally. So their desire to cancel after we had agreed to everything in writing on the Airbnb platform was not something that I was willing to consider, and I held firm. I have a strict policy for a reason. There's terms and conditions that Airbnb lays out. And so I felt very, very justified in saying, no, I'm not going to make an exception. I'm running a business here. This is peak period. You knew in advance what you were getting into. We agreed in writing on the Airbnb platform, and I'm not going to waive it because I have reason, just like you have reason, to try and cancel. I have reason to hold on to it. Namely, it's a lot of money, about $20,000. So they tried to cancel before they even stepped in, made my life really difficult, took a lot of my time and energy, got Airbnb involved to try and mediate and solve. And like I said, Airbnb took my side. We were reluctant to let them in the house and stay, but we wanted the income. The calendar had been blocked. It was peak period. So we decided to be very professional, as always, about it and welcome them into our home. I left a handwritten note and a bottle of wine welcoming them. I sent them a note on Airbnb platform saying what happened in the past is in the past, water under the bridge, and they wouldn't drop it. They kept trying to find problems with the listings, reason that they should be allowed to cancel. They really didn't want to come and stay. And so I was a little worried about what would actually happen when they did in fact get to my place and stay. And with reason. As soon as they got there, they immediately had a host of issues, some of which were not big deals at all, and one issue which was actually a big deal. There was a water leak around a window. It was unsightly, but it wasn't anything bad. And that's one of the big differences about a hotel versus Airbnb. If I ran a 100-room hotel and there was a small leak in a window, I could take somebody and put them in the neighboring hotel room or on a different floor, right? But when you have one property in one room, you can't really do that. And so you have to get it repaired really quickly. You have to be professional. I have a great team in all of the different places that I operate. So I was able to get somebody in there the same day that they notified me, took a look at it, and they started the repair work the next day. It was a minor inconvenience, but it was an inconvenience, and the folks just really weren't happy. Now, remember, they were unhappy before they got there. They've been trying to cancel perpetually. They weren't happy. They kept trying to nitpick. Now they had an actual reason that they were unhappy, and we fixed it really, really quickly. So how does this relate to you, and what's the tip? The tip is keep all the communication, 100% of the communication in writing on the Airbnb platform. They were all communicating with me via text, via different Airbnb accounts. There was the secretary, there was the wife's account, there was the guy's account. They were WhatsApping me, they were texting me, they were emailing me. And at every point, I would respond to that as, my response is on the Airbnb platform. Let's please try and keep the communication on the Airbnb platform. The platform is there. Those are the terms and regulations. Let's just go to one place so we all know where to look, because I was getting bombarded, and I even said that. And they were reluctant. For whatever reason, they kept trying to communicate outside that channel. They said they don't have the app, they don't like the app, they don't want to log in. I don't know what it was. I don't think that they were being, elusive. I just think that for whatever reason, they may not be Airbnb guests too frequently, but they just like to communicate with me in 20 different ways, and at every time I just would redirect them back to the Airbnb channel. And as it turns out, that was worth $20,000 because when Airbnb went back and reviewed the entire case history, which multiple people did multiple times, before when they made the reservation and they tried to cancel, then they kept trying to cancel, more dialogue was reviewed, then when they got there, all of the communication was on the Airbnb channel, laid out really clear. I was very professional, I was empathetic, I was trying to resolve it very quickly, remained upbeat and confident in my stance that I wasn't going to cancel. So I was firm but helpful. And ultimately, Airbnb sided with me. And the people actually vacated the premises. They didn't handle it very well. They didn't tell me when they were returning. Are they coming back after the construction? Are they not coming back at all? They didn't tell me that where the key was. They just basically said, we're out. And then they didn't cancel. And I kept encouraging Airbnb to cancel the reservation because with a strict cancellation policy, every day that didn't get canceled was like they were there for the next 30 days as well. So in the long run, they were supposed to be there for a total of 60 days. I think they stayed in my place for about 4 or 5. They didn't cancel for 10 days or so after they left. So I got paid for about 50 days for the 4 or 5 days that they stayed there, and Airbnb had my back. It was really time consuming, it was really emotional. Even as professional and investor as I am, and an Airbnb superhost, just it was time consuming and it was draining, and the whole process sucked and it left a really bad taste in my mouth. But the only thing that made that taste better was the confidence and conviction that what I was doing was right and I was doing my absolute best, and the fact that Airbnb had my back and supported me and confirmed it. And I don't know what's gone on since they've left. That's between them and Airbnb. I'm no longer the bad guy. I did everything in my power to rectify the situation. I'm really pleased with how professional I acted, all my conversations that I've read. But the single smartest thing I did was to redirect all of the communication back to the Airbnb platform so that Airbnb could read it. I guarantee you, if I'd been responding via WhatsApp and text and email and phone call, Airbnb would have sided with them. The fact that I had it all right there, they could document it, I adhered to their Airbnb rules and regulations and their platform policy, that was a win. And it was about a $20,000 win. So, as uncomfortable as it was, in the end, I feel really good about it. So, to reiterate, keep all your dialogue on Airbnb. I know it's really challenging when people are texting you and WhatsApping and you want to respond quickly, and maybe there's a lot of emotion, maybe they're name calling, maybe they're not being very professional themselves. It's human instinct to want to get back and respond. Breathe, relax, say my response is on Airbnb. Breathe, relax, leave a very professional response, courteous. You're a superhost or an aspiring superhost. Put your best foot forward. Just realize Airbnb and their team, they're going to be reading that. So you want them to think very highly of you, as they did in my case. And that's the rules. Those are the rules. We're only supposed to communicate on the Airbnb platform, so don't you as a host break them. That's bad. I hope you appreciate this. Please go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel.